Listen closely, because the world may tell you to wait, to shrink, to fear, but your soul is whispering a louder truth: grow. My love, life will always give you two doors, the door of excuses and the door of elevation. One is easy, smooth, comfortable. It asks nothing of you except your greatness. The other one, it will test you, stretch you, demand pieces of you that you did not know you had. But it will also shape you into the person you prayed to become. You see, excuses are soft pillows. They make you feel good for a moment, but they lull your potential to sleep. Growth is a fire. It burns away your fears, your doubts, your smallness, and leaves behind the version of you that was always meant to rise. So today I ask you gently yet firmly, stop feeding the reasons why you can't and start watering the seeds of why you must. You were not born to repeat the same day forever. You were not designed to stay trapped in the same hurt, the same circles, the same limits the world drew for you. You were born to expand, to rise, to stretch the borders of your becoming. And hear me well, growth does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Try again, show up, begin where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Excuses may be comfortable, but they have never created a masterpiece. Growth may be uncomfortable, but it has shaped every legend, every healer, every warrior, every soul that dared to live fully. Stand tall, straighten your back, lift your chin. Your life is calling you forward, and excuses cannot lead you to destiny. Choose growth, even when it is hard, even when it hurts, even when you feel alone. Because one day you will look in the mirror and thank yourself for not giving in, but rising up, and that will be the day your spirit whispers, I did not shrink, I grew. Excuses destroy potential in the quietest, slowest, and most invisible way. They do not break a person in a single moment. They break them in small pieces, day by day, decision by decision, until one morning they wake up and realize they have become a shadow of who they once dreamed of being. Excuses feel soft, comforting, and familiar, but they are the silent thieves of greatness. They do not shout, they whisper, not today, maybe later, you're tired, you're afraid, you're not ready. And each time you listen, you surrender a small part of your future. People often believe excuses are harmless, but excuses are habits, and habits shape destinies. When someone allows excuses to take root in their life, they begin to shrink. They start accepting less from themselves, settling for mediocrity, and convincing their own soul that good enough is enough. Excuses do not just stop actions, they limit identity. You stop seeing yourself as capable, powerful, disciplined. Instead, you see yourself as someone who always tries but never becomes. And the tragedy is not that you failed. The tragedy is that you never gave yourself the chance to succeed. Excuses grow stronger with practice. The more you use them, the more they become your shield against responsibility. At first, you give an excuse because you are tired or scared. Later, you give excuses because they have become your normal way of existing. You no longer question them, you repeat them. And with every excuse, the gap between your potential and your reality widens. One excuse becomes a week of waiting. A week becomes a month of hesitation. A month becomes a year of regret. And regret is nothing but the graveyard of unused potential. Excuses destroy not only what you could achieve, but who you could become. Every dream you carry requires effort, sacrifice, and consistency. Excuses demand none of these. Excuses ask for nothing, but they take everything. They steal your courage by convincing you that failure is too painful to risk. They steal your time by pushing your progress into an imaginary tomorrow. They steal your confidence by reminding you of every doubt but hiding every strength. They steal your passion by turning your flame into ashes through neglect. They steal your destiny by chaining you to the comfort of now instead of the promise of what's possible. When you give excuses, you may think you are protecting yourself from discomfort, but you are actually imprisoning yourself in it. Excuses keep you exactly where you are, even when your heart knows you deserve more. They create a barrier between you and the version of yourself that is waiting on the other side of discipline. You begin to wonder why others succeed, why others grow, why others rise. And the truth is simple, they did what you said you would do tomorrow. Excuses did not stop them because they refused to let excuses decide their future. Excuses also blind you to the strength that exists within you. They make challenges look bigger and your abilities look smaller. They turn mountains into monsters and small delays into permanent detours. They convince you that effort is suffering and staying the same is safety. But staying the same is the greatest danger of all. Growth requires movement, and excuses freeze your life like cold water. They keep you stuck in yesterday, repeating the same patterns, living the same story, avoiding the same fears. And your potential, dies in stillness. When you stop making excuses, you begin to see the truth. You were always capable, you were always strong enough, you were always worthy. The things you thought you couldn't do were simply the things you didn't allow yourself to try. Excuses made the path look impossible, but the moment you take your first honest step, you realize the path was always walkable. It was your belief that was broken, not your ability. Excuses are powerful only when you obey them. When you challenge them, question them, push against them, they lose their grip. You start replacing "I can't" with "I will learn." You replace "I'm not ready" with "I'll start anyway." You replace "maybe one day" with "today's the day." And with each replacement, you reclaim a piece of your potential that excuses once stole. Every human being has a reservoir of greatness within them, but that greatness cannot survive on excuses. It needs action, discipline, courage, and commitment. It needs a mind that chooses progress over comfort, growth over fear, effort over avoidance. Potential is like a seed. It can become a mighty tree, but only if planted, nurtured, and given the chance to grow. Excuses leave the seed untouched, unplanted, undeveloped, full of possibility, but empty of results. Excuses destroy potential, not by force, but by permission. They destroy your future by convincing you to delay it. They destroy your strength by convincing you to hide it. They destroy your dreams by convincing you to abandon them before you even begin. Every excuse you accept is a door you close, a chance you lose, a life you never live. And the saddest truth about excuses is this: they feel harmless in the moment, but they become painful in the memories. What you avoid today becomes what you regret tomorrow. Potential does not die overnight. It dies slowly, silently, through every excuse that wins. Potential dies when you choose comfort over courage. Potential dies when you choose fear over faith. Potential dies when you choose later over now. Potential dies when you choose excuses over growth. But when you choose growth, your potential rises again. Growth is uncomfortable because it demands that you step outside the boundaries you've built for yourself, the boundaries that felt safe, familiar, and predictable. It pulls you into places where your heart must stretch, your mind must unlearn, and your spirit must rise to levels you have never experienced before. Growth is not supposed to feel easy, because if it did, it wouldn't be growth, it would be repetition. True growth begins the moment comfort ends. It begins when you feel the tremble in your hands, the uncertainty in your voice, the shaking in your steps, and yet you move forward anyway. People often believe discomfort is a sign they are doing something wrong. But discomfort is usually the greatest confirmation that you are doing something right. When a seed breaks open, it breaks painfully. When a bird pushes its way out of the shell, it struggles. When a caterpillar dissolves inside its cocoon, it is nearly unrecognizable before it becomes a butterfly. Everything that transforms must first endure the pressure of becoming. Growth requires shedding old layers, habits, beliefs, fears, excuses, relationships, identities, and shedding is not gentle. It requires honesty, it requires effort, and it requires courage to release who you were so you can step into who you are becoming. Growth is uncomfortable because it asks you to confront your truth. The truth about what you want, what you fear, what you avoid, and what you allow. It pulls you into the mirror and makes you face the parts of yourself you've pretended not to see. It forces you to challenge the limitations you've accepted for far too long. It asks you to let go of the stories that kept you small, the wounds you rehearsed, the excuses you repeated, and the boundaries that were built by old pain instead of new possibility. Growth demands accountability, and accountability stings before it heals. Growth is uncomfortable because comfort is seductive. Comfort tells you to stay where you are, even when your spirit is screaming for more. Comfort convinces you that familiar is the same as safe, even when the familiar is destroying you. Comfort gently whispers that the effort is too much, the change is too risky, the road is too long. Comfort promises peace but delivers stagnation. Growth breaks that illusion. Growth disrupts your patterns. It shakes you awake from a life spent repeating yesterday. It calls you higher, louder, bolder, and this calling comes wrapped in uncertainty, challenge, and countless moments where you will question yourself. Growth is uncomfortable because it takes you into territories of the unknown. Human beings naturally fear what they cannot predict. The unknown feels dark, heavy, intimidating, but the unknown is also where your best self lives, where your talents sharpen, where your confidence expands, where your wisdom deepens, where your destiny waits. You cannot step into a new life while holding on to the old one. You cannot rise while clinging to the ground. The unknown may scare you, but staying the same should scare you even more. Growth is uncomfortable because it exposes your weaknesses and asks you to strengthen them. It forces you to confront the parts of you that are unpolished, unprepared, and untrained. It requires the humility to be a beginner and the resilience to fail without quitting. It asks you to practice until your muscles ache, mentally and emotionally. It asks you to keep going when you feel discouraged, to try again after you stumble, to believe in yourself even when evidence is still unfolding. Growth teaches you that mastery is not a gift. It is a commitment, and commitment is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable because it doesn't happen in a straight line. It is messy, unpredictable, full of detours, delays, and days when you feel like nothing is working. Some days you will feel powerful, ready, inspired. Other days you will feel lost, tired, overwhelmed. But these fluctuations are not signs of failure. They are signs of evolution. A person who is becoming more must also experience more. Growth will expose you to new emotions, new challenges, new lessons. And sometimes what feels like breaking down is actually breaking open. Growth is uncomfortable because it often separates you from people, places, and versions of your life that no longer support your journey. When you grow, you outgrow. You outgrow friendships that feed your past but not your future. You outgrow environments that limit your potential. You outgrow conversations that no longer nourish your spirit. You outgrow identities that were built around survival instead of purpose. This separation can feel lonely, but loneliness is sometimes the quiet space where your transformation begins. Sometimes you must stand alone to learn who you truly are without the noise of expectations. Growth is uncomfortable because it requires patience. Results do not appear overnight. Change takes time. Healing takes time. Building takes time. But discomfort during the process teaches you discipline, trust, endurance, and faith. It teaches you that progress does not always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like doubt. Sometimes it feels like chaos. Sometimes it feels like nothing at all. But the seed buried in soil also feels nothing for a long time, until one day it breaks through the surface and everything makes sense. Growth is uncomfortable because it transforms you from the inside out. It changes how you think, how you react, how you choose, how you love, how you show up, how you speak to yourself, how you walk through the world. And transformation is rarely gentle. It is raw, it is real, it is demanding, but it is also liberating. Because once you stretch into a higher version of yourself, you cannot shrink back into the person you used to be. Growth is uncomfortable, but so is staying stuck. Growth is painful, but so is living with regret. Growth is challenging, but so is living beneath your potential. Discomfort is not the enemy, it is the doorway. It is the signal that you are moving, evolving, becoming. The discomfort you feel today is the strength you will stand on tomorrow. Show up even when you don't feel ready, because readiness is not a requirement for greatness, willingness is. Most people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect confidence, the perfect clarity, the perfect courage, the perfect circumstances, but perfection never arrives. Life does not pause for you to feel prepared. Opportunities do not wait for your fear to settle. Destiny does not delay while you search for the perfect version of yourself. The truth is simple. If you wait to feel ready, you may wait forever. Growth begins when you choose to show up exactly as you are. Nervous, uncertain, trembling, imperfect, but present. Showing up without feeling ready teaches you one of the most profound truths of life. Readiness is created through action, not before it. You become ready by doing. Confidence grows through experience, not imagining it. Strength builds through trial, not waiting. Skills develop through practice, not hesitation. If you look at anyone who succeeded, you will find that they began long before they felt prepared. They learned as they went. They stumbled, they doubted, they restarted, but they showed up. That choice to show up was the seed of everything they became. When you show up without feeling ready, you confront the fear that has been holding you hostage. Fear thrives in imagination. It shrinks in action. The moment you take even a small step, fear loses its power. It no longer sits on your chest. It sits behind you. You begin to see that what looked impossible was simply unfamiliar. What felt overwhelming was simply untested. You discover that your fear was not proof of your limits, it was proof of your potential. Fear only appears when you stand near the doorway of growth. Fear is not a stop sign, it is a signal that you are close to something meaningful. Showing up even when you don't feel ready is an act of trust. Trust in your resilience. Trust in your ability to learn. Trust in the possibility that something good can come from your effort. Trust that you do not need to know everything to begin something. Life rewards those who dare to take the first step in faith, those who are willing to move without the guarantee of success. Because the first step is not supposed to prove you can do it, it is supposed to show you that you are willing to try. When you show up without readiness, you also break the illusion of perfectionism. You stop waiting to be flawless and allow yourself to be human. You stop hiding behind the idea that you need more time, more knowledge, more resources, more confidence. Perfectionism is often a mask for fear, a clever disguise that convinces you to stay still. When you show up imperfectly, you teach yourself that mistakes are not shameful, they are educational. You replace "I must get it right" with "I will get better." And getting better is how every extraordinary journey begins. Showing up when you don't feel ready also strengthens your discipline. Discipline is not built on motivation, it is built on commitment. Motivation comes and goes like weather. Some days you feel inspired, some days you feel empty, but when you show up on the days you feel unprepared, unmotivated, or uncertain, you train your mind to be stronger than your emotions. You learn that you can still act even when your feelings try to hold you back. You build a habit of consistency, not convenience. And consistency is what transforms small steps into massive change. When you show up without readiness, you develop resilience. You learn to navigate the unknown, to adapt, to adjust, to grow through discomfort. Resilience is not built through easy days, it is built through days when you show up despite hesitation. Every time you do something you once believed you couldn't do, you change your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who only acts when conditions are perfect. You see yourself as someone who creates progress no matter what. That shift in identity is powerful. It changes how you see challenges, how you handle setbacks, how you approach the future. Showing up when you don't feel ready also reveals opportunities you would never have discovered otherwise. Some doors only open when you knock. Some paths only appear when you walk. Some blessings only arrive when you prove you're willing to move. If you wait for readiness, you miss the hidden chances life sets along your journey. You miss the people you could have met, the lessons you could have learned, the growth you could have gained. Life expands for those who expand themselves through action. When you show up without readiness, you give yourself permission to evolve. You don't stay stuck in the same version of yourself. You don't limit your life to the boundaries of your comfort. You don't shrink yourself to match your doubts. You become someone who is willing to grow, willing to try, willing to risk, willing to rise. Showing up becomes an act of self-love, a promise to yourself that your dreams deserve your effort even on the days you feel unsure. Showing up when you don't feel ready also builds momentum. Action creates energy. When you take one step, even a small one, you feel a spark, a sense of movement, possibility, motivation. That spark leads to another step and another, and soon you are moving faster than you ever expected. Momentum is one of the greatest tools for transformation, and it begins with a single brave decision to show up despite not feeling ready. Showing up even when you don't feel ready teaches you that failure is not fatal. Many people avoid starting because they fear failing. But showing up reveals that failure is simply feedback. It is a teacher, not an enemy. It shows you what needs improvement, what needs adjustment, what needs time. When you show up, you learn to see failure as part of the journey, not the end of it. You stop being afraid of falling because you realize you can rise each time. When you show up despite not feeling ready, you prove to yourself that courage does not come from comfort. It comes from action. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to continue moving even with fear present. You step into the unknown not because you feel brave, but because you choose to be brave. Showing up without readiness is how transformation begins. Your future depends on what you choose today, because every decision you make becomes a thread in the fabric of the life you eventually wear. People often imagine the future as something distant, something that will arrive on its own time, shaped by destiny or chance. But the truth is far more empowering and far more demanding. The future is built moment by moment, choice by choice, step by step. What you do today becomes the foundation of what you experience tomorrow. Your habits become your direction, your actions become your destiny, and your choices shape the future you must eventually live inside. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. When you choose discipline, you are voting for strength. When you choose excuses, you are voting for stagnation. When you choose courage, you are voting for growth. When you choose fear, you are voting for limitation. People say the future is unpredictable, but in many ways it is incredibly predictable. It will reflect the decisions you make with your time, your energy, your attention, and your effort. What you plant today is what will grow. What you ignore today is what will decay. What you delay today is what you risk losing entirely. Your future depends on what you choose today, because the small actions you perform daily become the patterns that shape your entire life. You don't wake up one morning successful, confident, healed, or transformed. Those states are the result of consistent daily choices. If you want a healthy body, it's built through choices of movement, nutrition, and rest. If you want a peaceful mind, it's built through choices of boundaries, self-awareness, and intentional thought. If you want a fulfilling life, it's built through choices of persistence, courage, and openness to growth. Big dreams require small decisions repeated over time. The world gives applause for the result, but it is your choices, the quiet, private, often unnoticed ones, that create the result. Your future also depends on the choices you choose not to make. Avoidance is a choice. Silence is a choice. Delaying is a choice. Staying where you are even when it no longer serves you is a choice. And these choices have consequences, just as powerful as the choices rooted in action. When you choose not to grow, you choose to remain behind. When you choose not to heal, you choose to carry wounds into tomorrow. When you choose not to try, you choose to live with the question of what if? And that question follows you far longer than fear ever will. Every single day you stand at the intersection of who you are and who you could be. The choices you make either move you closer to your potential or further into your patterns. Each day asks you, do you want your future to look different from your past? Do you want to rise above the versions of yourself that were shaped by fear, doubt, pain, or disappointment? Do you want to break cycles that have repeated in your life or your family for generations? Do you want a future that feels larger, brighter, more peaceful, more aligned? If the answer is yes, then the path begins with today. Not someday, not eventually, not when everything is perfect. Today. Your future depends on what you choose today, because the present is the only place you have power. You cannot rewrite yesterday, no matter how much you wish you could. You cannot live tomorrow, no matter how much you imagine it. The only moment where change can be made, where effort can be applied, where growth can begin, is now. When you treat today as unimportant, you weaken your future. When you treat today as sacred, as purposeful, as meaningful, you strengthen the life ahead of you. There is no magic in waiting. The magic lives in choosing. Today matters because it is where momentum is created. A single step taken today creates the energy for the next. Momentum doesn't come from giant leaps, it comes from the decision to move when staying still would be easier. When you choose to move forward, even in small ways, the universe responds. Opportunities begin to appear, confidence begins to grow, life begins to shift, but none of that happens without the first decision, the choice to act today. Your future depends on what you choose today, because your choices determine your character. Character isn't built in dramatic moments, it's built in daily ones. When you choose honesty today, you become someone trustworthy tomorrow. When you choose courage today, you become someone resilient tomorrow. When you choose kindness today, you become someone compassionate tomorrow. Your identity evolves with each decision. You are crafting the person you will one day rely on. The future you who must face challenges, make decisions, and carry dreams. What you pour into that future version of yourself is determined by the choices you make now. People often underestimate the power of a day. They believe change must be massive, dramatic, and immediate. But a single day can change the trajectory of your life. A choice to start something new. A choice to end something harmful. A choice to speak up. A choice to walk away. A choice to try again. A choice to believe in yourself. These choices do not always feel monumental in the moment, but they ripple outward. They shape your future in ways you cannot see yet. Your future depends on what you choose today, because today is the birthplace of habits. Habits are powerful because they run your life quietly, almost unconsciously. If you choose discipline today, discipline becomes easier tomorrow. If you choose avoidance today, avoidance becomes automatic tomorrow. Your habits either build your future or break it. And habits are built not in the future, but in the immediate present. You cannot wait for the future to shape your habits. Your habits shape the future. Your future depends on what you choose today, because every dream you have is connected to a decision you must eventually make. Dreams are beautiful, inspiring, motivating, but dreams without action are fantasies. Dreams become reality only when you decide to take the first step. Even if the step is small, even if the step is imperfect, even if the step scares you. Every great achievement you admire began with one person deciding that today was the day they would start. Your future depends on what you choose today, because your life will not change by accident. It will change by intention, it will change by effort. It will change by choosing to take control of the one thing you truly have power over, your decisions. The life you dream of is not waiting in the distance. It is being built right now with the choices you make in this very moment. Small daily steps create big lifelong changes, because transformation is not born from sudden miracles. It is built from consistent effort, repeated quietly, faithfully, and patiently over time. People often imagine that a new life requires a dramatic shift, a grand beginning, or a massive breakthrough. But real growth rarely arrives in explosions. It arrives in small sparks. It lives in the choices you make every day, the habits you repeat every morning, the thoughts you nurture each night. Small steps might feel insignificant in the moment, but they compound layer upon layer until one day you look back and realize you have built something extraordinary. The reason small daily steps are so powerful is because they bypass resistance. When a task feels too big, the mind becomes overwhelmed. Fear rises, doubt creeps in, procrastination wraps around you like a heavy blanket. But when you break your goals into small, manageable actions, your mind relaxes, the mountain becomes a hill, the impossible becomes doable. You stop focusing on the entire journey and give your attention to the next right step. That focus creates momentum. And momentum, even in tiny doses, is one of the most transformative forces in life. Small daily steps also reshape your identity. When you show up for yourself every day, even in small ways, you begin to see yourself differently. You start to believe in your discipline, your resilience, your commitment. You teach yourself that you are someone who follows through. That identity shift is powerful because identity drives behavior. When you see yourself as a disciplined person, you act like one. When you see yourself as a capable person, you push further. Each small step reinforces who you are becoming. These small steps also build habits, and habits are the architecture of your future. A habit is not formed by doing something once, it is formed by repetition. Each day you take a small step, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with that action. Over time, the action becomes easier, faster, more automatic. What once required effort becomes second nature. And once something becomes a habit, it becomes part of your identity and eventually part of your destiny. Small daily steps teach you patience, a quality essential for lifelong success. In a world obsessed with quick results, instant gratification, and overnight transformations, patience becomes a rare form of power. When you commit to small steps, you learn to appreciate process over perfection. You understand that slow progress is still progress. You learn that real growth requires nurturing, not rushing. You begin to trust the journey, even when results are not immediately visible. And that trust becomes the foundation of your perseverance. Another reason small daily steps create big changes is because they accumulate through compound effect. Just like money grows through compound interest, your actions compound over time. One workout may not change your body, but exercising consistently for months will. 1 hour of study may not change your knowledge, but studying daily for a year will. One act of kindness may not transform your relationships, but showing kindness every day will shape the way people experience you. Small actions multiply, building upon one another until their impact becomes undeniable. Small steps also protect you from burnout. When you take on too much at once, you exhaust your energy and motivation. But small steps are sustainable. You can repeat them even on difficult days, tired days, stressful days. A small step might be reading a page, taking a 5-minute walk, practicing gratitude for 60 seconds, writing a few lines, cleaning one corner of a room. Consistency is what matters, not intensity. You don't need massive effort, you need repeated effort. Over time, repeated effort outshines occasional intensity. Small steps strengthen your relationship with discipline. Discipline grows when you choose consistency over mood. And showing up daily builds a discipline that becomes unshakable. You learn that discipline is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about doing something regularly. You stop relying on motivation, which is temporary and unpredictable. Instead, you build discipline, which carries you through moments when motivation fades. Small daily steps also give you clarity. When you take consistent action, even small action, you gain insight into what works, what doesn't, what needs adjustment, and what direction feels right. You learn through doing, not thinking. Movement reveals the next step. Many people stay stuck because they believe they need clarity before taking action, but clarity often comes after action, not before it. Small steps illuminate the path in a way that thinking alone cannot. Taking small steps also builds self-respect. When you keep your promises to yourself, even the small ones, your self-trust grows. You begin to see yourself as reliable, strong, capable. You develop a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you will not abandon yourself even on your hardest days. Self-respect is not built in grand moments, it is built in consistent choices made in private. Small daily steps create transformation because they shape your emotional resilience. When you do something repeatedly, even when you don't feel like it, you strengthen your emotional endurance. You teach yourself to show up through discomfort, boredom, fear, and doubt. You learn that you can do hard things, even in small portions. Emotional resilience is not built by doing everything at once. It is built by showing up every day. Another profound element of small steps is that they keep you connected to your purpose. Big goals sometimes feel far away, abstract or overwhelming. But small steps keep you emotionally grounded. They remind you why you started. They give you daily evidence of your progress. They turn dreams into something you can touch, feel, and measure. Each small step whispers you are moving forward. Small steps also help you break negative cycles. When you take small actions toward a better life, you disrupt the patterns that once held you back. A single small step can interrupt a destructive habit. Repeating that step can replace the habit entirely. Change begins with interruption. An interruption begins with a small intentional choice. Small daily steps create big lifelong changes because life is not transformed by one decision. It is transformed by the decisions you make every day. The choices that seem small now are the ones that shape your future in ways you cannot yet see. And when you commit to those choices with unwavering consistency, you build a life that reflects your effort, your growth, and your belief in what you can become. When you finally understand what life has been trying to whisper to you, something inside you begins to rise. A fire, a knowing, a quiet roar that says you were never meant to stay small. You were never meant to shrink for people who have already decided their own limits. You were never meant to apologize for wanting more, dreaming bigger, or growing beyond the walls others became comfortable living inside. And the moment you choose growth over excuses, you take back the pen that writes your story. You reclaim your power. You stand tall in a world that benefits from you staying on your knees. Because hear this, with your whole spirit, nobody is coming to save you from the life you refuse to leave behind. The future you dream of will not walk toward you. You must walk toward it with steady feet, trembling hands, and a determined heart. Life will test you. Life will bend you. Life will stretch you until you think you might break. But growth has always lived in the stretching. Strength has always been born in the pressure. Diamonds are not created in comfort, neither are you. There will be days you feel alone, days when your mind will try to drag you back to old patterns, old fears, old limitations. But when those days come, breathe deep and remind yourself, this is not where my story ends, this is where my strength begins. You may not see the progress yet, you may not feel the victory rising, but every step forward, no matter how small, is a declaration that you refuse to be defined by your past. Growth doesn't always look like triumph. Sometimes it looks like surviving one more hour, choosing peace over chaos, choosing discipline over delay, choosing belief over doubt, and let no one, absolutely no one, make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. You do not owe your future to the people who abandoned you. You do not owe your success to those who doubted you. You do not owe your healing to the ones who caused your wounds. Your life, your vision, your journey belongs to you. And when you rise boldly. When you decide confidently. When you move like someone who has already seen the mountain peak in their spirit. Because the moment you believe in your own power, the world has no choice but to believe with you. Whisper this truth to your heart. I am not done. I am not finished. I am just beginning. The world may have tried to limit you. Circumstances may have tried to break you. People may have tried to silence you. But they underestimated one thing, your resilience. Your spirit is carved from storms, stitched with faith, and held together by a strength you haven't even fully met yet. And when you walk into your destiny, you will carry every scar as proof that you didn't quit, that you didn't bow, that you didn't surrender your future to temporary pain. So stand up, lift your chin, straighten your back, walk into your tomorrow with the courage of someone who finally understands the worth of their own name. Your future is calling, not softly, not timidly, but with a voice that echoes through every choice you make today. Do not let your dreams wait another moment for your courage. Do not let your potential sit in the shadows of hesitation. Do not let your power sleep while the world needs what only you can bring, because greatness is not a gift, it is a decision. Strength is not a talent, it is a choice. And success is not destiny, it is discipline. Tell yourself aloud, I will not shrink, I will not quit, I will not be less than what I was created to become. Let this truth settle into your soul and expand you from the inside out. This is your time. This is your season. This is your turning point. And the world hasn't even seen the best of you yet. Rise now. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when you feel ready. Rise now, your future is waiting for the version of you who finally understands that excuses build cages, but growth builds empires.